941-925-8357. Let's go to the email box from, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Sijin? Anyway, he says, hey, I was listening to a show and you were talking about private police, and I wanted to know what your response is to the following scenario in a completely free market world.
That must be for you, right?
Let's say, yes indeed, now we're in the free market world now, right? He says, let's say that I kill someone at my house. I'm going to assume that the person I killed has purchased some sort of investigative service in the event that that person goes missing. At some point, the investigative team shows up at my house. Now, let's break this into several sub-scenarios. Number 1, they show up, I open the door, and it's pretty obvious that I killed the person. They can see the body. 2, they show up, I open the door, and it's not completely obvious I killed the person, but I refuse to even talk to the team. 3, they show up, and I've been openly bragging about killing the person, but I don't even talk to the investigative team. My question is, without a clear set of guidelines, except for maybe some by the community, how are the investigative teams supposed to do their job? Under the view of you have the right to do whatever you want so long as you don't hurt anyone else, who decides at what point I have enough evidence of wrongdoing, or they have enough evidence of wrongdoing, so as to give them the right to drag my ass into whatever court system is in use? Well, it's an excellent question. And the answer is the marketplace will decide. But to give you a little bit more detail, if as you in section number 1 have, they knock on your door and they can see the body through the window, well, that's plenty of evidence. They will take your ass and, presuming they've also dug a little bit of evidence up elsewhere and they know that it's you.
How do they get the right to go on your property?
Well, again, if you've violated someone's rights by killing them, you don't really have your rights anymore at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so these people it's their job to investigate and to ensure that they have the right person. They don't want to make a move, Mark, until they are pretty damn certain that they have targeted the right person for arrest. And so in that particular case, they've got the right person, they take you in, you go to arbitration, you have the trial, and whatever happens, happens. If they're wrong, if they've been misled or they had some bad evidence or whatever, they just, cut corners, whatever the reason is that they're wrong and they've got the wrong person, then they are liable beyond what you would believe. I mean, they at that point would have then arrested you for committing murder when you hadn't done that,
mm-hmm.
and you would have a tremendous lawsuit for lost time and property and damage to your reputation, and you would be able to get significant money out of an organization that screwed up like that. Unlike the police system today, where if they fuck up, then too bad. Then they just let you out of jail and they tell you, hey, you should feel lucky, pal. You only stayed here for 5 years.
So who's going to decide how much money you get?
The marketplace, of course. People in arbitration.
All of them? Everybody in the marketplace?
Well, Mark, I mean, how does anyone decide what the price of a piece of beef is? It's the marketplace. Buyers and sellers operating.
What if the marketplace decides that your privacy isn't worth crap? What if the marketplace says that your right to your property and your privacy inside your home, where you can kill people with impunity apparently, is worth $1.50? I'm
not sure what you're getting at.
Well, what if the marketplace says that the damages that you get for somebody arresting you and throwing you in jail and
that's absurd.
Why is it absurd?
I suppose, Mark, it could happen theoretically, but it's very improbable.
Well, we're living in a society today where liberties are disdained and private property is apparently of no consequence. People believe that they can tell you whether you
understand
smoking in your
there has
business
to be a
or not.
Paradigm shift to get us to this point in the first place.
I'm just wondering,
Mark?
what if there isn't?
There's more here to his email, and we'll continue with your calls as well at 941-925-8357. It is the live internet edition of Free Talk Live. Take control of the airwaves, but there are none. The internet waves or something. It's Free Talk Live. All right, so 941-925-8357, just finishing up an email from Sijin. He's asking some questions about how the free market situation where we would have essentially we would have no more government whatsoever. We'd have private protection agencies and arbitrators, how things would be handled in a situation where he was being investigated for a murder. And he gives 3 potential situations, 2 of which involve some real solid evidence that he is indeed the culprit. One where you can actually see the body. The second where he's apparently been bragging about killing the person. The fact is, as soon as you take away someone's freedom, as soon as you destroy their life or their property or whatever, as soon as you violate their liberty, you've essentially sacrificed your own, and you're subject to prosecution. So there is no inherent protection that you have from anything, because if you've been investigated and determined to have been the culprit, they're just going to drag your ass in, and then they're going to show the evidence to an impartial arbitrator, and there's going to be an agreement that will be made. So you don't have any sort of immunity from prosecution in the free market, and I don't know how he got that impression, and I just want to make that clear. He says in the other scenario here, though, they show up, I open the door, and it's not completely obvious I killed the person, but I refuse to even talk to the team. Well, you're under no obligation to cooperate with an investigative team, and that's fine. It's the same thing with the cops today. They come up to your door, don't answer it. Mm-hmm. And so that's fine. Then they're going to go and dig around elsewhere. They're going to go and do their investigation in whatever way they can do their investigation. And again, if they come to the conclusion that you are the culprit, they'll take you in using whatever means necessary.
I think that we should remind people at this moment that although this may not sound like a foolproof system, a large percentage of murders in the United States currently go unsolved.
Again, it's government that's investigating the murders in the United States today, which is probably why it's such a large percentage. I don't claim to know what the percentage would be in a free market situation, but I can tell you the incentives would change, and so the percentage would change. Because today, as you've mentioned on the show before, Mark, the government doesn't have a financial incentive to solve murders. They are not. Yeah. A police department has no reason to brag about their murder solve rate. First of all, because they're all dismal, but secondly, because it wouldn't do them any good. Getting on television saying, we have solved 100% of the murders in this town this year, and we are very, very special, is not going to get them anything. They're not going to get extra customers because everyone's already coerced into being their customer. Right. And talking about and pointing out how bad of a job they've been doing, as many times the media does, also doesn't harm them at all. Because, again, you're forced to be their customer. So having the marketplace supply these services would completely change the face of everything. To continue with his email, he says, my other question is, what exactly is supposed to happen when you have conflicting private forces? For example, the investigative service comes to arrest me, and I call up my security force, and they show up and gun down the investigative team. Well, first of all, these investigative private agencies would have interlocking agreements just like insurance companies have today, and there's going to be certain ways that they will have to behave in a professional manner, obviously. And so if the one investigative team has real solid evidence that you're the criminal, then the other protection agency is going to look really, really bad if they're protecting a criminal. See, they're going to have an interest in making sure that you surrender yourself in a reasonable manner so they can be seen as doing their job to protect people, to really protect the innocent. Because that's their job, is to protect the innocent, not the guilty. If a company's out there protecting criminals, then they're going to lose all their customers, and they'll have no reputation. There's no way an organization like that could potentially profit in the free market situation. So your little fantasy, St. John, is just not even possible. And once again, if two investigative arms disagree on something, then they can go to arbitration. They can go and take their disagreement to an arbitrator and have the arbitrator make a decision. So there's all kinds of different levels here that the marketplace can build in to put these checks and balances in that are necessary to keep us all safe and safe from unnecessary prosecution and overzealous protection agencies, and it all has to do with competition in the marketplace. He says you also made a claim that a free market police would be better as they're beholden to their employees, but you have to remember that they're beholden only to – wait a minute. He says that they're beholden to their employers, but you have to remember that they're beholden only to their employers. Huh? So what do they care if they beat the crap out of me? I'm not paying the bills, and hell, I can see a lot of people hiring the meanest group they can find to get the person that wronged them. Well, again, beating the crap out of you doesn't do anything to get that person whole again. In the marketplace paradigm, restitution would be the name of the game. If you were to steal somebody's property or harm them in some way, you would owe them some money. You'd owe them a make good, if you will, plus interest, plus court costs, plus the investigative costs, plus whatever other costs were incurred in bringing you to justice. So you'd owe a buttload of money in that particular case. And if that organization beat the shit out of you and broke your fucking bones, then you wouldn't be able to make good on your payments. You wouldn't be able to go out and work anymore. And these people are in business to make money, not to crack heads. So again, it's a completely different paradigm from what you're used to. You're used to the cops going around busting heads because that's what they dig. They hire sadists. Sadists look for those sorts of jobs. It's their thing. But in the marketplace, where customer service is the order of the day, sadists won't have any career opportunities and protection. They'd be run out of the game. Because they would be absolutely violating their customers' trust, and at the same time, the boss would not be able to make his money back if he has goons out in the street breaking the legs of the people that are supposed to be working to pay back their debts. Asinine. And it's not in reality what you're talking about, St. John.